All right. Hey, everyone. It's Marshall Atkinson, and it's Thursday. Happy to see everyone here. And today I'm very happy to have Travis Abac with Tea Expressions. I almost said tree expressions. I don't know why I said that. But anyway, so happy that you're here. And we're going to get into all the secrets behind all over belt printing. So how are you doing today, Travis?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, doing fantastic, And I've really wanted to kind of dig into this for a long time. And before the show started, we were just talking about how we've actually been connected on LinkedIn for like a decade, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time. And so I'm so happy that you're doing great and everything. So before we get into all the questions, why don't we just talk about your shop and what you do and your bread and butter? I mean, where are you? Let everybody know everything about Tea Expressions.
Okay. Well, obviously, Expressions. We are located in Las Vegas, Nevada, North Vegas. We specialize in belt printing, or what you would call all over printing. And all over printing is basically a technique of using water-based and or discharge inks to be able to fulfill an entire pattern over a t-shirt, given the sizes from small through XXX and what have you. Normally on dark colors, we'll use discharge ink. Light colors, we go with water-based. And the preferred method on belt printing would be softer cotton t-shirts. They actually print pretty well in the G5000. We do a fair share of G5000s or like a PC55. We've gotten good results on stuff like that. But I mean, that's pretty much what it is. You could use it. You can use it as a pattern, step and repeats. Belt printing is a pretty simple process. It requires a little bit of setup time. So it can be a little bit more costly, but it's a great way to add or showcase your brand in a way that in today's world, a lot of people aren't.
All right. We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But before we do, just want to throw some hellos out. So Jeremy Picker says, nice. Been seeing Travis's all over examples. Can't wait to watch. Yosta says, hi from Sweden. Inns Print Company says, Marshall, and he's watching from YouTube, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And then Aaron wants to know what brand of discharge ink you use. So if you've got a question for either me or Travis, make sure you put it in the comments. Don't just be a lurker. Okay? You can be bold and brave enough to ask a question or just say hello. We want to know where you're from. Okay. So put something in the comments, will you? It's really important.
Right.
And before we get too far into the show, I want to just throw this out here. This show currently doesn't have a name, and I want to name it. So here is the link. Go to atkinson.fyi/name the show and give me your suggestion for what I should name this. And I've been posting this on social media, and I've got, I don't know, 20 or so entries so far. I need a lot more. I've got some fantastic suggestions so far, and I think it's really going to be hard for me, but I know that you creative people out there can help me name this show, and the winner gets to be on the show just like Travis here. Okay. So we'll talk about you and your shop and what you do and all that kind of stuff for a full hour, right? So it'll all be about you and what's your magic secret rocket sauce, right? So anyway, Atkinson.fyi, name the show. So please help me out, will you? I need some help. Okay. So, all right. You ready to get into some good stuff?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
To respond to the question as far as the brand of ink that we use currently Matsui for all of our discharge and our water-based inks. We've been exploring or trying to get into exploring Magna and what Magna can do for us. But from the get-go, we've been with Matsui.
Right. Yeah. Big fan of Matsui and Jesse.
Yeah. So ink's been working great for us. We've been able to do everything that we've been doing and then some using Matsui. So it's not broken, don't fix it. We're exploring because we want to try new techniques as far as the offerings of different brands. But discharge and water-based stuff will be staying with Matsui.
Okay, so we don't have any pictures and we're not live on the shop floor. So if somebody has never, ever heard of all over belt printing or belt printing or all over printing, I know you talked about this a little bit in the intro. Talk about, if I'm a 4-year-old or a German Shepherd, right, that level, what is this thing, right? And then how does it work so I can really understand what you're doing there, okay?
Okay, so we use, obviously, we don't use screens this big. We use a screen that's this big. So
I thought that was a barricade behind you.
No, this is an actual screen that we use. The screens we use for belt printing typically range from 60 inches to 45 inches. So frames that we're using for our belt. And all we're doing is taking your artwork, translating it into a print on T-shirts. I mean, using water-based inks or discharge inks. I mean, it's a fairly simple process. It's a little different from your regular screen printing. I mean, yeah, it's a fairly simple process. I'll go ahead.
So it's normal screen printing. It's just jumbo sized, right? Like if you go through the drive-through, do you want jumbo? Yeah, I want jumbo, right? That's what it is.
It's version. That's what it is. It's supersized.
Right. And then, are you hand coating that emulsion or do you use an auto coder for that?
We hand coat everything.
Yeah. Do you? Okay.
Yes. We're not.
And so you use normal emulsion. What do you use?
Yeah, we use right now we are using the SP 1400, the Murakami. That's what we use right now. And then we use our hardener, so we're using the Matsui hardener. We're going to be getting into emulsions that we can dedicate specifically for the belt. What we're trying to do is just use universal. So if we could use it, harden it up, we don't have to spend additional money on another emulsion. So we're exploring options right now that have dual function because obviously when you rub hardener on the frames, they're just close to impossible to wash out. So we spend a lot of time reclaiming with the current process. So we're looking at right now.
All right, cool. And so we have some questions. By the way, we got a lot of people watching. So it looks like your family from Hawaii is watching. Valerie says Maui's watching.
Oh boy.
Brian from Southern California is here. He wants you to know to stay with Matsui. Justin says howdy from hotter than hell, Texas. By the way, it's 109 where I live today, Justin, just so you know. What's it in Vegas today?
I believe it's 109 or 110.
There you go. We're the same. Yeah. Scott says Ola from hot South Florida. Everybody's in a heat wave. Mocha Boy said, is that pronounced Mochi?
Mochi Boys.
Mochi. Need some samples out here from Maui. Artem says hello from rainy Seattle. You know it's not 109 there. And then my buddy Alan wants to know, what kind of belt printers do you have?
We use it's actually a mini belt. We use a precision mini belt. That's what it's a 3-color. So
precision, that's an older piece of equipment.
It is an older. Even our gas dryer is a precision. I mean, some of that equipment that was built back in the days are just, they're like the old school Chevys. They're built to last.
Right.
I mean, knock on wood, we haven't had a whole lot of issues. Everything's been running clean. I've been fortunate to meet a few technicians that have assembled these machines in the days, tail end of them. So I've got some connections that can help us when it comes down to something going down, fixing or maintenance on the machinery.
So what's the throughput per hour? Just to show you, it's just the one color. Let's keep it simple, right? So you're just doing one screen and you're done, right? And not have to register anything. What is the typical throughput?
We're doing about throughput at max capacity with 4 people on the press, where we can do about right now comfortably about 200 pieces an hour.
Okay.
which isn't bad for the belt and the size of the printing and the amount of people that we've got to have. We try to minimize as much as possible the amount of people, but I mean, having somebody watching and flooding inks, also making sure that the neck papers are staying in and holding, making sure that our belts always got some tack on it so shirts aren't lifting off of the press, and just general maintenance, making sure that everything is running right while we have two people loading, one person unloading, and also helping cleaning off the belt as it goes around and circulates back to the original point where we can continue to load. So we run typically about 4 people, but yeah, throughput on one color, about 200 pieces an hour.
Okay, so that's a lot of people, more so than a normal automatic. So that's 4 people on the press plus the catcher. So it's really 5, or is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
5 people. So the reason you need so many people is because everything is so large,
Yep.
right? So just describe what everybody's doing there just a little bit.
So we got our main operator. Our main operator is also the loader. He comes with a loader helper that sits adjacent from him on the opposite side of the belt. That way we can grab the shirt, place it in the exact location that it needs to be placed at. Typically, we'll use lasers for registration. So we have a laser coming down on the belt every single time so we can get it as precise as possible. You're going to have one person up on the boardwalk, and we're going to be walking around flooding the inks. Sometimes even a 6th person. Sometimes you have somebody repetitively mixing ink, I know, a gallon at a time or 5 gallons at a time, depending on how big the run is. And then you have your person who is unloading, pulling off the belt, making sure the prints look right, and then wiping off excess ink onto the belt. So it's easier for the belt to be washed and cleaned at the bottom of the press as it goes around again. And then, obviously our catcher, making sure that the discharge is discharging correctly. There's no spots or pinholes. Everybody knows when we do discharge printing, you never know where the pinhole is until it comes out of the dryer. And by the time one comes out the dryer, chances are 30 are coming through the dryer. So, we're all hands on deck.
Right. So several people, Aaron and Brian both, want to know, hey, we'd love to see a video. So are there any YouTube videos in your shop of this process?
There are not. And the reason why we don't have a whole lot of video footage is because a lot of the work that we do is provisional. So we can't necessarily showcase a lot of what we're doing is because they're for, larger partners of ours.
Yeah. You know what you should do is you should do one with your logo on it to show everybody how it works. And this is your brand t-shirt that you can show. And then we can throw it in here in the comments later because this is recorded. Yeah. And then everybody can come back and watch it.
Absolutely. We'll do that for sure. We'll definitely do that.
Yeah. Next 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Split.
All right. So what's my next question? Next question was, what is the typical usage of this technique? So we want to see the results. So show and tell time.
Well, typically what we would do outside of doing your standard step and repeat, like how you would do on a banner if you print a banner, some people would do a step and repeat process, and then they'll run a logo over it or whatever the case is. Some people will just do a step and repeat, and then they'll sew tags or they'll sew labels, and then get into the folding, bagging, and packaging. But what a lot of people use them for are for background prints. So, for example, this is a shirt right here that has an all-over print on it. So you can see that we use the application for text in the back. Then when we're done, we come in and we screen print what we would call a 3-color logo, which would be your white, red, and your white going over it. And because the ink is really thin and we're using water-based ink, you're not going to be able to feel, or the ink doesn't show through the actual backside of the shirt. So this is a little more of an intricate way of showing off kind of what you can do with this process. Another thing that we do is some people just use it as an actual print. So this is another version of a belt print that we do. That's kind of like a 3/4 or a quarter belt where you can see the print. It goes over the seams, goes over the shoulders. But if you look really good, this design is distressed. So when it goes over seams and collars, it matches with the actual t-shirt, and it doesn't look like it's, misprinted or it's shifted in any way, shape, or form, because everything is built to look that way. The best way to print belt is to make the shirt look like it's supposed to. So you make it distressed. So when we go ahead and print, it already has that look. So you're not expecting perfection, I would say, because this is, the 2 to 3 week version of cut and sew, right? So you don't want to wait 3 months to get your product in. You don't want to wait another 2 weeks for sampling. You want to do the belt printed version. So we're simulating, in a sense, cut and sew on stock bodies. So there are limitations to what we can do, but there's some really cool things you can do. So this is an actual shirt that we've done. I know a lot of people have seen this shirt right here. And this is a 3-color.
What size is that shirt, Travis? That's like a 6X. What is that?
This is a 3X.
A 3X.
So
okay.
You can coverage on the 3X that we can get all the way down to the bottom on this belt printed tee. This is a 3-color, red, white, and blue, all discharge. And you can see how this design actually is, like I said, it's completely distressed. So when it comes to things like seams, nothing really, you're not going to really worry about what you can and can't see.
Right.
They're built grunge around the collars. It gives you that effect. So that's kind of how you want to use it. If you want to get away from doing step and repeat, which step and repeat's also a great process, and it's a great way to get your brand or your company out. You want to utilize that for patterns or things that are distressed or kind of nostalgic. Belt printing is from the 90s, 80s, right? So everything was broken. Everything was throwback, right?
Yeah, it's my decade, man. I'm old. I'm a throwback. I'm vintage.
So we keep it the same. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just bringing it into the new era is what we're doing.
Right. And so what I really like about this is it's a gigantic print, but you're using discharge and water-based ink. So It isn't a gigantic print that feels heavy and rough on the shirt, right? The hand is very light, correct?
Absolutely. And you give it a wash, it's going to soften up. The color up just a tiny bit more. So, there are benefits, definitely benefits to having the all over print done. Right.
And so what's your favorite print? I know you probably don't have it, and some of your clients probably you can't show, but what has been your favorite print that you've done where you amazed yourself? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we've done a few jobs for other clients on some Razorback tank tops, 3-color, some pretty tight registration that I was pretty amazed, because everyone knows when you're dealing with Razorbacks, we tell people most of the times not to print tank tops or not to print, a Razorback or whatever the case is. But so there are times where we do get them more than most, and we take them and do them. But that's when we're, now trying to showcase ability. We go ahead and we use neoprene. A lot of people are like, neoprene on a belt, or foam on a belt, just so we can accept seams a little bit better. We're just trying to figure out how to accept more products or more blanks and be able to still fulfill a fairly clean print. But we've done 3-color tight reg Razorback tanks, and they printed. I mean, I was like, damn, that looks really good.
So I've been to shops that do all over prints, and they have like a big, like a silk pad, almost like you have in your oven when you do cookies. And they put the shirt on that, and then they have 2 people that loads that on the press, and that gets printed. And when it's printed, 2 people just throw that onto the dryer. Is that how you do it?
So ours is different. Picture yourself going to an Albertsons or Smith's and loading your food onto that belt. That's exactly how we're loading shirts. So it's a rotating belt, just like it is at the grocery store, just supersized. And what we do is we normally run a tack through it. So we'll grab an oversized squeegee, put some liquid tack, and we'll let the belt run, and we'll drag glue all the way across for the adhesive to let it tack. And we'll just start running from there. But that's a basic process. So yeah, we're not, basically what I would say is simulating a belt, using it on a cylindrical machine or like an Alpha 8 or something like that. The belt that we have, actual true belt, and it actually prints on a belt for the purposes of it being a belt printer.
That's why it's called a belt printing. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen shops with the Alpha 8s and the oversized pallets, and they run them that way, but we don't have to deal with deflection. So, sometimes when you're printing on an ovular press or or a cylindrical press and you're using the oversized pallets, you've got to make sure that your arms are reinforced or the pallets are reinforced, or even if you're using
it's so much force going down with the squeegees and it's so heavy.
There's so many things that go wrong with that, and deflection is one of the biggest things, especially on multicolor images. With the belt, we don't have that issue.
Okay.
Belt, so that's what makes it a little bit easier on our part to do that, to do something like this, and we have the press.
All right, great. And all right, so we got some people said hello. Mochi Boys wants to say, hey, you can print sample for us and make a video on it. They must be your friends, right?
Yeah.
Is that like a restaurant? What is that?
So they make these snacks called poi mochi, and it's like pois or different types of gels that they make, and they fry them into like a crisp ball.
Right.
Extremely delicious. I could actually use some.
Yeah. Sean says, hey, Alan wants to know if you print beach towels.
We do. We do print beach towels. We actually, to be honest, we don't do as much as you would expect for a company with a belt printer, because I'm sure back in the days that was the big thing. Everyone's using these belt presses because of the size to print towels. But we don't do as many towels as most people would think. We don't do as many beach towels as I would think. I mean, a market we need to be working a little harder.
It's not like you can't do them. It's just that those orders aren't coming in, right?
Correct.
So if you've got a beach towel order, I'm sure, Travis, you'd love to print it, correct?
Absolutely. And we do it all water-based. We've done black towels with red discharge on them before. So that kind of stuff can be done. We're more than happy to help you. Okay,
cool. All right. And so where are we on time? All right. So let's go to our next topic is art, right? I'm an art director, so this is kind of how I think. I want to know, if I'm creating the art for this, right? What's the art prep like? What's my template look like? How do I set this up? So let's just say, I know an oversized one, you can just make the thing huge, right? What is your typical dimensions for the file? Step and repeat, how you set it up? What if you wanted to do a front and back where something lined up here in the shoulder? How do you kind of think about that?
So we typically, it's a pretty basic template. We work off of like a 45 by 45 size square, and we just have our clients let us know what the prominent part of your image is. What are you looking to display the most? So we know where to position it.
So that's in the middle, like that's in the main part of the shirt.
Right, what the most focal point of the shirt is, exactly.
Right.
And the reason why is because as we go bigger, what we do sometimes after we burn our screens, we'll set our largest shirt on. And to reduce the amount of ink printed on the belt, we'll block out around the largest size t-shirt, obviously giving ample space for loading. And then we'll work our way down to our smallest shirt. Every time we print, we start with our biggest shirt, we end with our smallest t-shirt. So we're always looking for that. But we typically work off of a square dimension, whether it be an Illustrator file or a PSD in a high res, 300 DPI file. That's pretty much how we do it. And then we proof it out. We try to match the spec to proof when we jump on the press. I mean, it's pretty basic. We definitely don't send a cutout of a t-shirt, because we get sometimes people will, I got the art prepped, and they'll send a cutout of the t-shirt. The problem is every t-shirt body is different. You're dealing with a G5000 or a 2000 that's got a boxier fit compared to a 3600 that has a little bit more of a slim fit. The sleeves are different, the waistline is different, everything is different. So we just ask that they bring it to us in a square pattern, and we'll go ahead and reformat everything to fit our needs. We would rather do it ourselves than somebody do it for us and it be wrong and have to be recreated.
Yeah, just because you're the expert.
Try to be.
Right. And so the show that white shirt up that had the diagonal art on it that you had a minute ago.
Yeah.
So let's say that you wanted the back to match where it lines up on the shoulder. How would you create the art for that? You know what I mean? So everything kind of lines up and looks like a wrap.
Yeah. So we've done wraps. Typically, when we do wraps, we do them from the bottom up. If there's designed a specific way, it's easier to line them up that way. Something like that would be a little bit more tricky. we would have to really look at the art and make sure that there is, because there's going to be error. It's never going to be 100% perfect on the shirt.
Yeah, but if you did a distressed, like funky, grungy thing or whatever, I just want to make sure it looks like it's all one piece. You know,
yeah,
more of a.
We could absolutely do that. Yeah. There may be a tiny bit of overlap depending on what the design looks like, but absolutely it could be achieved to where it could look like it's connecting over the back on one specific side of the shoulder, especially.
Okay. And how often is the artwork that you're doing is like, instead of that's obviously in your face, crazy white with black and red. Maybe it's just really super subtle and it's just little logos or little icons or something that you probably wouldn't even notice so much until you started taking a look, because they're going to print something right here in the middle. You know what I'm saying?
A fair share of tonal type of printing, dark grays on black, or just grays in general on black, which works out really, really good. And then it's easier for us. We'll end up using a base blocker just to make sure that we don't have that image coming through the actual design.
Right.
But yeah, you could do a step and repeat on black and do a tone on tone. That's probably one of the more popular processes, would be that step and repeat style over doing an actual design like you guys have seen earlier. The designs that you've seen earlier are a little bit more intricate as far as the look of the shirt. But if you're going back to the basics and you're just doing a simple step and repeat, then, as long as you point us in the direction of what you want prominent, that's how we get it done.
So is anybody doing this huge print, and then at the same time you're printing the thing on the center chest where you got to really worry about placement? Or is it more common practice to do 2 setups?
We would do 2 setups.
Okay.
Obviously, we can mix some of our frames depending on what it is. So if we did an all-over belt print, for instance, and there was a discharge logo that was in the center, the only thing that a customer has to realize is that logo may not be in the exact same position as your shirt shrink. Or get down in size. They may shift. Or how sometimes when you're loading on the press on a left chest, you'll pull your double X's and your triple X's on a left chest a little bit lower on the t-shirt. You may not have that opportunity dealing with the belt. So at that point, I would recommend doing a second setup if you're that critical about that placement. And I would do a separate.
Right. Yeah, I've done tons of shirts where small through large is one size, and then extra large through double or triple is another whole set of screens. So
yeah,
I've always hated those, by the way. But
that's how I do my placements of my left chest. My small through medium or small through large will have a set placement. And then my extra large and my double X, I'll pull them a little bit up, and my triple X is up just to compensate for the length. Right.
All right. So we have some questions. Sean wants to know, what is the largest screen that you can use?
Currently, we're using a 45 by 60. We couldn't go wider than a 45 because it's technically a mini belt, but we could go longer than 60. So we could actually go a lot longer if we needed to, depending on what we were printing, I guess.
Yeah. And then Alan wants to know, is there a special adhesive for the belt, or is it just water-based palette adhesive?
We just use water-based palette adhesive is what we use.
Okay, good. And all right, so we have our last question here, which is, what are the problems that someone needs to overcome? So let's talk about the downside of this technique, right? There's always challenges and issues. And to me, I bet you it's communication and people not understanding it. That kind of stuff is probably a good place to start. But what are the problems that you have with this that you see?
So before we start the process, we'll always send somebody an informal paper that will let them know things to look out, right? Everybody always has a big picture in their head of what this shirt could look like. But like I mentioned before, because we're not doing cut and sew, because we're simulating that through screen printing, there are limitations. Things you got to watch out for would be wrinkles under the seams. So the type of shirt really plays in. We like to print belt on softer cotton materials, but that doesn't mean your typical Gildan shirt wouldn't work, or your Port & Company or your 1301 wouldn't work. But we prefer to have if you were like a 1701 all style or a next level 3600. But things you have to watch out for would be your basics, your seams. There may be smudging on the seams depending on what your design looks like. Underneath the armpits, if they aren't, the way they're sewn, they're not perfect, right? No shirt's ever perfect the way they're sewn. So there may be yeah, right? Amazing, isn't it? There may be instances where the outside of the seam, when you lay it flat, is larger or is a little bit shorter than the inside of the back of the seam, right? So there may be ink that prints on that inside as well. So there are certain things, and that's why choosing the right blank is really important, and making sure that there's consistency. Also, dischargeable T-shirts.
Right.
The different types of dye houses that are being used are fairly inconsistent, because whether they're made in Honduras, they're made in Mexico, China, wherever they're made, so the dyes are all different, which means that when we print discharge, sometimes there's going to be variances between one shirt and another shirt, and that's not the process that we're using. That also ties into the dyes of the blank that we're receiving in. So there are certain things you got to watch. Always check your manufacturer before you research a specific garment, and try to see if you can call ahead, or maybe we can do it for you to see what blank is the most dischargeable. Everything's 100% cotton can discharge, but the opacity that it does discharge can be up to the dye, if we're using discharge percentages correct.
And then also you should ask to make sure that the shirts haven't been over dyed. I've run into that issue where they're all black shirts, and then half the mediums used to be green, and then why don't these look good?
Right. Exactly. And when we're putting on the belt, we like to stick to 100% cotton, right? If you're gonna now we have printed polyester, we have printed tri-blends. If you're gonna do a darker print, go ahead and find a 100% polyester, and we can print a dark color ink over it. That works. But if you're gonna try and discharge 100% poly, it's probably not going to give you the best results. So especially if you're dealing with dark shirts, make sure that it's
well, of course, discharge only works with the cotton part.
Right. Some people, sometimes we get an order and the customer wants to send the T-shirts in, and they send the 50-50 blend, and I'm like, this is not going to work. So I always make sure that people understand that anything to do with discharge has to be 100% cotton. Right. Sometimes it goes in one ear out the other. So I always make sure that
Sure. Brian wants to know, do you do any glow in the dark or reflective?
So we've done glow in the dark on the belt. We are working on some reflective projects right now, but we have done 3-color wrap glow in the dark front and back, and they've turned out great. So yes, absolutely.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah, amazing. It's one of those other surprising ones where I'm just like, man, that looks really great.
Yeah, and what glow in the dark are you using? The ink?
We were getting it from. I think we were getting it from. Damn, I don't remember the company we were getting it from. It was in downtown LA. It was more of an off-brand.
Is it the Allure Glow?
No. It was from Fabritex, Color Fabritex, I believe, downtown LA.
Yeah. So Sean goes, it's Allure. Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. Okay, so what other problems do people have? And so the reason I wanted this is because I think with any type of new idea, right? Oh, I want to do that.
Right.
Then they set it up wrong or sell it wrong or whatever. Let's talk about that, where people don't really understand it and they get in over their heads quickly. I just want to make sure people, if they want to try this out, with you or whoever, that they kind of understand what kind of animal it is.
So right? the belt printing on the back of a T-shirt can be complicated depending on what the print looks like. And the reason why is because you have a front collar that, depending on how heavy or how soft the shirt is, could potentially have a little bit of an imprint going through the back. That's why we kind of recommend using a softer cotton material. Mm-hmm. So we don't have those issues. But yes, we do run into instances where we'll run the back and we'll have a little bit of the neck label showing through the imprint of the back of the shirt is one thing that we try to stay away from, and we do let customers know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you mean just the kind of the impression of the square will be on the front? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, when we're printing the back of the shirt, the collar impression from laying it flat will kind of bleed.
Oh, right. Okay.
One other thing is if we're printing tank tops, we can print men's tank tops, right? But in order to catch the seams, we have to put a little bit more pressure in order for it to print cleanly over the seams. So sometimes you'll have some discharge that'll, some water-based or discharge bleed through the inside of the shirt. That's another thing to watch out for, or to be mindful of at least. So you have that peace of mind. Some people open up their shirt and they're like, man, why is the print on the inside of the shirt? Well, you wanted a tank top and we made it happen for you. But before we had going into the tank top, we let you know that, hey, there may be a little bit of an impression on the inside. So yes, pressure on the inside on certain things. Also, the thickness of the garment when printing on white.
Right. Okay.
We want to make sure that we're not printing through the backside of one side of the shirt. Or typically, if it's a one color, we'll try to use a slip board and we'll throw a poster board in the middle so that we don't have that impression coming off on the back of the inside of the shirt. But there are a few things to look out for. The best place to start would be, obviously sending us artwork and an idea so we could help try and guide you in the right direction to get you the best quality print possible on the belt.
Okay. Hey, so we're wrapping up a little bit. So if you've got a question for Travis, please leave it in the comments so we make sure we have time to get you the answer that you need. So here's some more comments here. Brian says, love to sample you some of our Synergy inks. So Brian, I'm going to show his email address here in a minute. Copy that down, and then you can send him a bunch of stuff. I'm sure as a printer, he wants more free stuff to try. Daryl wants to know about pricing, so let's talk about that. So if Daryl sends you work, right? He's sending you the shirts, probably, right? You're just going to do the production for him,
right?
What's the kind of the charge? And of course, it's probably based on quantity and everything. But what could he get on the other end from his client, which is really what he's looking for?
Right. So you're looking to sell them off perceived value, right?
Yeah,
is what you're doing. As far as I know he has a question on the MOQs. The minimums for the belt that we have are 144 pieces. So, unlike going over the border or going to another country, the MOQs would probably be around, 1,200 pieces or so. For us, it's a little bit easier to be able to capture repeat business at 144 pieces. And 144 pieces to a lot of people isn't really a lot when they're looking at doing, belt printing. As far as cost goes, yeah, it varies by the color and it varies by the quantity. So, I mean, a 3-color belt on 144 pieces might cost you $5. You know what I mean? On just your printing impression. Or you might run, 1,000 units, it might come down to $2. You know what I mean? So it really depends on the intricacy of the art. Obviously, it doesn't matter if we're doing water-based or discharge. It's all the same for us. It's just more the technique that we're going to be using, but it goes off the quantity. So yeah, we'll use the 144 piece minimums. Every once in a while, if it's a really, really simple design and it's a one color and it's hang and bang, we'll take a 72 piece here and there just to help somebody out, because we understand that not everybody wants 600 pieces on their books or 1,200 pieces on their books. So we are a flexible company. Now, prices may adjust accordingly, but we're more than happy to accommodate the business as we are, a growing business ourselves.
Good. And then Sean wants to know where you're located. So talk about that real quick.
Yeah, we are. We're in the northern end of Las Vegas. So we're actually off of Las Vegas Boulevard, but we're further north. And we're kind of off a beaten path. We're a little bit in a kind of a weird area as far as, we're not in the city actually. We're more around housing areas. But a lot of our people that we work with, a lot of contractors and a lot of other shops kind of like it because we don't have people just walking in. So our walk-in traffic is not really high, but we've got an excellent clientele base that likes our location because we don't get a lot of walk-ins. Me personally, I'd rather have walk-ins in, right? So we can accumulate more business. But if our customers feel safe where we are, I'm also okay with that as well.
Okay, great. And here is your email address, right? And I'm sure you'd love to give people quotes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Send me art, send me quantities. You want us to provide the shirt, you want us to provide the shirt, and more than happy to kick some pricing back to everyone.
Yeah. So, all right. A couple more things before we go is first off, we got one or two people watching from YouTube, but would love to see you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. I don't know if you've been watching my Q&A with Alan that I do every single day. Every single Friday. Sorry. My son, Jack, is responsible for my YouTube page. And he is really doing a great job. And he wants me to say subscribe because I'm paying him money for every subscriber. And he really wants to get more stuff for his NBA 2K game, which is his big passion right now. He can't get past Kobe and Shaq in the tournament, and he's trying to level up. Right. So, and then Alan wanted to make sure Q&A with Marshall and Alan, but it's really Q&A with Alan and Marshall. So that's also here on the Atkinson Consulting Facebook page and also on YouTube. That's going to be, it's every Friday at 12 noon Eastern. So make sure you watch.
Definitely a show to watch. Definitely.
Yeah. And then we got some more comments here. Sean wants to know, what are your favorite shirt brand and model to discharge on?
We do a lot of discharge. Honestly, we'll use like a 3600, the NL 3600. It's a nice soft cotton, lightweight. The All Style 1701 is also another one that works well for us. And if you're looking at a basic tee, the G5000 works great. We've done a ton of discharge.
Yeah.
1000.
Yeah. That 1701 has the removable label too.
Yeah, and you have to remember too, when you're looking at something like a G5000, most of us screen printers are like, man, it's a G5000. But when you're looking at belt printing, you're selling off perceived value. That's the whole point of belt printing, is perceived value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then Brian wants to let everybody know that he's Lurgo USA, not Synergy Inks. So I was just commenting on what you wrote, which was that. So thanks for the clarification, Brian.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. We're always looking for inks that can allow us to expand our offering, whether it be color shifting, or we want to be able to start experimenting more on the belt. So like it said, reflective on the belt, that we're working on with some projects. We want to start working with stuff that are a little bit different, kind of breaking the mold. We know we do the phosphorin and glow in the dark. We've done some belt puff as well with glow in the dark. So we kind of like to experiment with things. Some people like to use us as an R&D from time to time. So if you have an ink product that somebody else doesn't have, or there's an offering that we can't get from our current supplier, or whatever the case is, we're definitely open to trying new things.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any last minute word before we jump off?
No, I mean, if you guys want to get some quotes, you guys got my email address, shoot me a quote. We're RT Expressions. Belt printing services is mainly what we sell outside of our typical screen printing. If you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to message T Expressions on Facebook. Make sure you follow T Expressions on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook as well.
Yeah. And before I go, my last comment is join the tribe. So shirtlabtribe.com. It's a community of apparel decorators. And right now we're growing the tribe. So we just had our Shirt Lab Summit at the beginning of June, and that went fantastic. So Shirt Lab had 2,634 people from 32 countries participate with that. So that was really great. And then from that, we launched our tribe, which is our online apparel decorator group. So this is a community of professionals sharing and doing different things. Today, we had a presentation with Lori Feldman talking about the 6 email drips that you should have for your marketing. And we do a presentation every single Thursday. That's what I do before this. This is my second video thing, but that's all private in our Shirt Lab Tribe Facebook group. So it's right now it's $49 a month to be a member of the tribe. And as soon as we get to 100 shops, that's going to go up to 99. And we think that'll happen sometime maybe around the end of the year or so. So we'd love to see you in there. The price will never go up if you get in now. So lots of fantastic content and amazing people in there. We'd love to see you part of the tribe. So anyway, that's it. Thank you so much from me, Marshall Atkinson in Mesa, Arizona. Say see you later there, Travis.
All right, see you guys in Las Vegas, Nevada. Have a good one.
All right, y'all take care. Thank you. And don't forget to be safe and wear a mask. That's all I have to say on that. Talk to y'all later. Bye.